the whole estimating. I'm going to remind you guys when we did estimating. The good news, Karen, is you have 3 chances of getting the whole estimating right. So you guys got 2 weeks on the residential. We're going to repeat the same thing in a commercial, which is the real takeoff when we're going to be doing commercial. And we're going to do the same thing in industrial. So hopefully by the time you hit the third time, you are either sick of estimating, you would never want to do it again, and or you like it and you got the best out of it. As far as I'm concerned, after you finish all of them, guys, you are an entry-level estimator. Okay, I'm going to review, guys, the estimating process for you before we go into the estimate summary. In page 20 in the old book, it says the estimating and bid process. There are 9 steps. Just quick go over the 9 steps of estimating, and you guys familiar with them. Understand the scope of work. Before we started, you have to understand the scope of work. We're starting a commercial project, Adam. The scope of work for the commercial project is power, lighting, and low voltage complete system for a 12,000 square foot office building. That's our scope of work for the commercial project, unlike the residential, which was slightly different. Takeoff, you guys have done the takeoff more or less for the residential project. We're going to do the takeoff for the commercial project. That's step number 2. Step number 3, Adam, is determine the bill of material. Luckily, when we use McCormick, guys, the bill of material, the whole linking that I was telling you about, out of the window. So that bill of material will be determined immediately by the takeoff. You do a great job with takeoff with McCormick, guys. You're done. You're literally done. You don't have to monkey around with linking and what's not. Okay. Then extending and totaling, the same thing. Instead of the Excel sheet, you have to link them and check them. When you do extending and totaling, is done directly by the software for you. That's step 5. Estimate summary. We're going to talk about the estimate summary right now, guys. That's when you put everything together and add a few things to it. Then applying profit and other costs. Applying your profit and other costs. Then bid accuracy and bid analysis. And the last thing you need to do is bid proposal. Bid accuracy and bid analysis and bid proposal. And that's what we're going to do with the bidding process, guys. We're going to go finish the applying the profit and bid accuracy and doing the bid proposal at the end of this chapter. So these are the 9 steps of estimating. Any comments, guys, about 9 steps of estimating from the takeoff all the way to the proposal? That's what you're going to be doing. You guys have done it for the residential project. You're going to do it for the commercial project, and you will do it for the industrial project, and then we'll kick you out of here. So, in a nice way. Okay, so let's go ahead, guys, and start talking a little bit about, we talk about the estimate process, and we finished the estimate process. Let's talk about the estimate summary, guys. A few things about the estimate summary that we're going to be talking, Adam, about. I'm going to go, oops, there you go. I'm going to put them in here. So for the estimate summary that you guys are going to be doing, adjust the labor to accommodate for the job site condition. So after you do the takeoff and you have bill of material, laboring, pricing and laboring, totaling and extending and totaling, you need to readjust your labor based on the condition. How to determine, and then you need to, how do you determine the total cost labor, including the burdens? How do you assign the dollar value for your hourly wage of your employees? And then the cost of material, including miscellaneous and waste, we have to add them up. You're going to see that bit summary, the little summary that has the dollar value, how much it's going to cost you labor and material. That's what we're talking about, guys. Then we need to get the quotes, the fixture, the best price for the fixture and the quotes. Account for direct job expenses like permits and rental equipment and all this stuff. Add them up. So, guys, this chapter is following the sheet, the bid summary sheet that you have in the Excel sheet. So it's not really rocket science directly related to it. Then don't forget that we need to apply Mrs. Overhead. Apply your overhead like $13 per man hour or 30 to 40% of the overall of your project. And a break even. Then after you add your overhead, guys, and all the other direct costs to your estimate, that will get you your break-even cost. Break-even cost is how much it's going to cost you guys to do the whole project, including the overhead. Okay. So this is just to give you an idea, guys. When you're doing estimating, you have to do a lot of judgments. Derek, you've been You're the most detailed one in terms of estimating. That's great. You were going and doing certain judgments and about things that you understand or you don't understand. You have to do certain assumption. So a good estimator will do that. Yeah, not everything is black and white in estimating. You have to use your brain. You have to use judgment. Your best judgment. The best judgment will be based on experience, and experience comes as you go through. But you have to do a certain judgment, guys. There's worksheet to help you organize your work like we did. Um, the summary worksheet contains 8 major sections. Let's talk about the section that the summary worksheet that you guys have. Our summary worksheet. Labor hours. We're going to talk a little bit about the labor hours, Adam. We're going to talk about labor cost. Labor hours is how much dollars you're going to assign to your journeymen. Are you going to give them, guys, $67? Or are you going to give them, well, how much did we give them? We gave 30 or 35. I think we put 35. Are you going to give them 35 or are you going to give them 65? That's what the labor cost, labor hours. Then labor cost, how much all is going to add up. Material cost, you add all your material together. Direct job cost, these are parts of, guys, of the estimate summary. That's the permits and what's not. Estimated price, that's adding all these together. Adding all of them together, tell you something called estimate price, right? And then the overhead, applying your overhead at the end. Applying your overhead to the end. And after you apply your overhead to this system, that will get you the estimate cost. How much is it going to cost you to run this project? That's your estimate summary. Let's look at it right here, guys. So here's your estimate summary or summary worksheet. Look at the labor right here. We talked about this one. Before. Here's your hours on this project, and you can see this is bringing all the hours, Adam, from the sheet that you did. By the way, this is the same sheet, identical to the sheet that you guys have in our Excel. So here's your hours for not our project, for the project that the book is following. You adjust the hours based on labor condition. Can you see that? We're adding 8%. So you take 8% multiplied by this to get you this number. Then you add them up, add these two together, that will get you this number. Then you additional labor costs for whatever reason that you have, add another 9 hours, and that will be, gentlemen and ladies, the total hours that you need for this particular project. That's step A, right? That's your step A. Then step B, guys, assigning the dollar value. They're assigning $10.65, Adam. Do you work for this? $10.65. We assigned 35, right? Isn't that what we assigned? We assigned $35. So you take this, multiply this by this. That's what you get right here. Get $1,000. So that's how many hours you have, guys, for this project, and assigning a dollar value for it. Any comments, guys, about this dollar value? We're going to talk about how do you come up with a dollar value in a second. Then we get into the material. The second thing that we need to do, so this is your labor. Second thing, guys, is your material. Here's how much it's going to cost you. Remember the sheet, Adam, you took all this stuff, all the cables and what's not. That adds up to all your material from all the sheets. Material item, we're adding 10% for material items, extra 5% for theft, small tools 3%. The gear, I think we added $500, I think $2,500 or something like this, dollars for the gear. This is, guys, for your quotation, all the quotation that you need to do, you add them up. Then you add sales tax, make sure that you total them. Then make sure you add the sales tax, add them up, right? Now your material, Derek, is going to cost you $2,300. This job is going to cost $2,300 material and $1,000, roughly $1,000 labor and $20,000 material. Can you guys see that? These are the most important things. Okay, then you need to add direct job cost like permit. So I added direct job cost. Then I added, then added them again. Then I need to add overhead. Can you see how they added the overhead? $13 per man hour. So they took the $13 math and multiplied it by how many hours we have here. These hours got you this amount of overhead. Add them up together, and then we have thefts. We have a profit. We are adding a 15% profit because we want to stay floating. We need profit. Added the profit 70, and the last thing is, I don't know if you can see it, 5.4. My last, the bid price is $5.4 thousand. So $5,400. Any comments, guys? Any questions? Any comments, any questions, Adam? Comments, questions about that? So we started with a bit summary with what you took from the sheets, added the overhead, the taxes, the profit, and all the stuff, and you came up with a price of 5.4, $5,400 roughly. That's what the Excel sheet that you guys have will take care of. So let's take a little bit, guys, a few things about each one of them. So labor hours must be adjusted. You need to adjust labor hours based on the condition determined. So this is just the sheet. We're going over this sheet from A through G, basically. All the sheets. So we have labor hours must be adjusted. Determined adjustment comes from experience, like we said. Here's a few things that you have to take into consideration, guys, when you adjust your labor hours. When you adjust your labor hours, remember how we added, I don't know if you guys can see here, they adjusted the labor hours right here, labor hour adjustment right in this area, right? So this value is coming, my friends, based on these conditions. Based on all these conditions, I hope you spare me reading each and every one of them. So you ask yourself, Adam, do I have a fire seal? Yup, maybe my electrician have to work harder to do fire seal. Job location, is it far away? Yup, add labor. How about miscellaneous? Yes. Mobilization? Yes. OSHA compliance, safety, plans and specification, security, shop time, site condition. All these guys are a checklist, Derek, that you have, and you ask yourself, do I have any or all of these? Based on what your answers, you come up and say, you know what, I'm going to pump my labor because of all these conditions, 5, 10%. Any comments, guys, any questions about the factors that you have to take into consideration to adjust your labor units, labor unit hours? These are the things that you have to take into consideration. As built plans is a big deal, guys. Demolition, do I have to demolish it? Energize work, environment and hazardous location, excavation, you name it. All these have to be taken into consideration when you adjust your labors. Okay, now we adjust our labor. We're going to go to labor cost. Man hour per labor cost. Labor cost per hour can be determined in two ways. There is the shop average. When you determine the dollar value, guys, there is the shop average and the job average when you do them. The shop average, the job average, Derek, is you keep track of all your labor for 6 months. How much money you spend on all your crew, one of your crews, right? And you add all the money and divide it by how many people you have and how many hours they did, and that will get you a dollar value. So that came up with $35 per hour. So keep track. Did you guys hear me? Keep track of all your labor for 6 months, divided by how many people you have, by how many hours. So keep track of how many dollars you paid your crews, how many hours they put on the job. Dollars, hours. Divide the dollars per the hours for 6 months. That'll get you the shop average. Shop average, guys, can go from $35 an hour that people charge you all the way to $100, $120 an hour for big companies. Does that make sense? That's how much you're going to charge your labor. Or $67 or $70. That's a lot of people, the union rate. That's the job average. The shop average, you take the crew that you have, you take how much you pay Adam, your apprentices, $20, two apprentices, $20, one journeyman, you're paying him $30, add him up, divide him by 3, and that will get you your shop average. Take how much you pay the crews that you have, divide them by how many in that crew, and that will get you the shop average. This is probably the most important thing. In our project, guys, we're using a $35 shop average, job average. I told you, use this value. That does not include overhead. Keep in mind, no overhead, it doesn't include overhead or profit. No overhead, no profit. Any question, guys, about a shop average, job average? Shop average, job average. That's how you determine the labor cost. Labor burden, guys, that's you need to also take into consideration how much you're going to pay health insurance and what's not for your employees. So very, very important. So part of their labor rates in the NECA contractor, they added this one to part of their labor rates because the non-union shops, you have to recover this one through your overhead. if you're working in an ununion shop, you have to recover it somehow. If you're paying your apprentice $35 bring home, and how about $10 for benefits, right? So that becomes 45. So you have to accommodate for the benefit that you give for your employees. If you're union shop guys, that you package $67 an hour per journeyman. That's it. That includes everything that you pay on them. Um, the software that we have, Derek McCormick, we will go there and we'll add the burden. They call them burden. You adjust, you put percentages. 10%, typically 10 to 20%, you pay the employees, guys, a burden, benefits, above and beyond what they bring home. So that's something you need to ask yourself. Total material, that's adding your material, guys, cost of transfer all the costs from the worksheets to the job summary. Um, Make the necessary adjustment. A couple of things that you have to, after you add all your material, gentlemen, you need to remember the whole material waste and theft and miscellaneous tools. You start adding percentages, guys, or subtracting percentages to adjust your material. They call it markups. You can mark it up 10%. Adam, the sheet that we have follows this format. McCormick and Acubit, you yourself have to go there, guys, and adjust your material markups. You want to put markups, you're going to add them up, deduct them. That's total cost. After you add your cost, you can adjust it, obviously. And don't forget to add the quotation price for your switchgear at the end. You need to add all major electrical equipment, Karen, and lights have to be quoted. Quoted means you send it to a couple of vendors. They'll give you the best price, and you stick them into this sheet. Any comments, guys, about the total material? The extended and totaled dollar value for your price, bring it to the sheet, adjust it based on a couple of factors, and don't forget to add the quotation. You guys were just looking at it. Direct job expenses. Direct job expenses, guys, a couple of things that you have to take into direct job expenses, permits, things that you need to rent for this particular job. So you have to take into consideration. Here's a few things that can be direct job expensive. Do I need to allocate time, guys, for as built? How about, do I need to allocate engineering drawings, time or dollars for engineering drawings? How about field office? How about guarantees I need to do? And I'm picking mobilization, compliance, and a lot of them are, we saw this one in the labor adjustment, guys. How about subcontractor, supervision, temporary wiring, testing? All these, Adam, my friend, you take them into consideration when you adjust your labor as well as your direct costs, So, any comments, guys, about these? And these are the same thing that we use for adjusting the labor cost. After you adjust the direct job expenses, guys, with taking these into consideration, parking fees. If you have fees, what are you going to pay? What are you going to recoup your parking fees? Permits and inspection. Who's going to pay for the permits and inspection? That's your direct cost. So when you become a big boy or Matt, and you become the best estimating guy, you're going to have a list like this. Say, hey, let's go check and see. We need to adjust. Have we forgotten something? We need to charge it to the project. The last thing that you guys want to do is forget about like parking and all this stuff, and you end up, you think you made a profit, but you lost a lot of money because you did not take any of these into consideration. Okay, gentlemen, estimated prime cost. When you add all of these, it becomes the total prime cost, which is simply added up the cost, all these, when you add them up, gentlemen, when you add them up, this is called prime cost. So on the test, Adam, they will ask you what is the prime cost, the cost of the labor material plus the direct cost. Job done. They call it prime cost. Any question, guys, about the prime cost? Any question about the prime cost? This chapter is following exactly the Excel sheet that you guys have, as well as the Excel sheet that we have for this project. Okay, now after you did all your prime cost, you need to add what? You need to add your overhead. We need to apply your overhead. Overhead can be applied in two ways, gentlemen, as a percentage or as a cost per hour. The project, guys, we allocated $13 per man hour or woman hour, right? That's we allocated the overhead. You can also allocate 15 to 30% to overhead. What's overhead? Overhead is the cost of managing the labor. And also running the offices, turning the light on, right? So you have to accommodate for that one recoupment. Okay, for the project that we have on, guys, here's what we did. We allocated this value here. Do you guys remember that for your project area? Um, so that's if you don't know, they suggest to use the 40, 30, 40%, 40%, either 40% of the prime or 40% of your prime cost. So add 40% of your prime cost or 13% man hour. I have been told by a smarter guy than me, Derek, if you want to make money, you need to make a dollar. So if you are working for me and I want to make money and I'm not working with you, you're working for me. If I want to make money on you, if you charge me $1 as an employee, you have to make $2 to pay me and my company and one for yourself. $2. You take $1 yourself as an employee. So basically, whatever it costs you, you double it to make money and pay everything else. That's a rule of thumb, guys. So if you only stay in business, if you paid $100 for your employees have to bring $200. 100 will be paid for them, and the other 100 will be doing the following item. It will pay your overhead because there's other electricity and water and blah 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 and all this good stuff, right? And your profit too. So that's like double it basically. And when that would equal the same thing if you add the profit and overhead almost the same. Okay, understanding break-even cost. Break-even cost is how much it's going to cost you guys. Basically, adding up the cost. So the break-even, Adam, they call it everything up to the overhead. The material, the labor, the direct job cost, the adjustment, the taxes, as well as the overhead is called break-even cost. Any comments, guys? Any questions? So if you're doing a project on a break-even cost, you basically paid everything. Your overhead, paid all your employees, but you didn't have 5% to put in the bank so you can go to the Bahamas or up north fishing. Any comments, any questions? So break even is not a bad word, guys. Break even, a lot of contractors, if you're like C Electric and the owner of the company is the working person, right? If you pay yourself, look at that. If you pay yourself a good salary and you kept yourself busy and kept your employees busy, paid your trucks, paid your gas, paid your insurance, paid everything else, and claimed no profit at the end, is that bad? Now, if you're a Parson or Hunt and big boys, of course, you need, you have to first pay all the employees in the office as in the field. And then above and beyond that, you would hope that you can get you 5% to 10% profit so you can either share it with the employees, like Paul said the other day, right? Or put it in your bank and buy a boat or do something with it. Okay, so break even, guys, it's basically you paid everything. You did not have above and beyond. And now, if you're an owner of a company and you are not overhead or you're not charged to the project, that money goes to you. But if you're owner of a company, Matt and Karen, my friend, and you are not, if you're working, you have to be paid. If you're not working, you get your money out of the profit. You would hope so. So if you're not working, you can't just put your time on a company that you're not working with, even if you're an owner. The profit's supposed to go to you. Okay, so break even is not bad. So that's basically what, guys, the bid summary. Uh, all this. So we talked about include adjusted labor and all this good stuff that we talked about. That's your bid summary. Any comments, guys, about the estimate summary? Any comments, any questions about the estimate summary? We talked about adjusting the labor, determining the labor cost, adding the material, cost with miscellaneous and waste and what's not. Quotation for the switch gear, do you guys remember that? The red job cost, adding it, overhead, and at the end come up with a tiny word that's called break even. How much is going to cost you? If you sell the process for less than the break even, you lose. Literally lose money. If you sell it for the break even, you did not lose money, but you did not gain money either. You paid everything. You're floating, right? So all companies, guys, would like to make some money, right? They don't want to be just float. Any comments, guys, about the estimate summary before I jump into the bid process? Estimate summary. We talked about the estimate summary. Okay, overhead. We talked about the head, understanding break even. We talked about Let's go to the bid process. Now remember, the estimate, guys, how much will it cost you. The bid is how much are you willing to sell it to the owner. The only difference between the estimate and the bid is what? Profit. That's it. So if your estimate equal your bid, then you have no profit. Is this bad? Not really, but you want to shoot for profit, right? You need 5 to 10% profit for the company. Unless you're a non-profit organization like Derek. Are you a non-profit organization, sharing and caring hands? Matt? No? All right, estimate process. Let's go to the bid process, guys. Let's add a little bit about the bid process. Now, the last step you do, Adam, after you do all your stuff with the sheets, if you guys looked at the sheets and followed the sheets, the last thing, everything that you have done with your French Channel and residential project, and everything that you're going to do with the commercial industrial is to reach the bid process. You spice it up with a little profit, and that's your estimate job. Okay. So how to apply profit? So now we're going to the bid process. We need the dirty word process. How about final cost? Way at the end, after you apply your profit, you might have to recoup an extra final cost. Way at the end, make sure you allocate them. Verify the common estimating mistake. Now then we got your bid, but make sure you go and verify the mistakes. Check, analyze your process, guys. So you did not make a mistake. Analyze the bid accuracy. It's so important, guys, to analyze it. And we talked to a much smarter than Chad Curry in estimating, and they told you guys how they get together Parsons and hash the project before they submit the bid. That's bid accuracy. And then when all thing is done, Karen, you're going to put it in a nice proposal, bid proposal, and send it to the owner. So say, we are ready to commit ourselves, gentlemen and ladies, to this project. Any comments, guys? Any questions about the bid process? Bid process, you're going to applying the profit, analyzing the bid price for accuracy and what's not, and then submitting it in a written bid proposal to the customers. Any comments, my friends? Any questions? And I know you guys finished the residential project before we finish this one. Now remember, there are 2 estimation you're doing. So I would hope, for Pete's sake, that you guys will take all this knowledge and apply it to the commercial project and industrial as we move on. Okay, profit is, in order to stay in business, guys, you need to get some profit. The profit, Adam, goes to the owner of the company, owner or owners of the company. That's it. It doesn't. So what the owner does with it, like Paul said, he can buy a boat in it, or he can buy another building, expand his company, but the profit is not meant to pay the overhead. If you pay your overhead from your profit, you're not doing yourself a service. Does that make sense, guys? The difference between profit and overhead? Overhead, you pay the people, paper, printers. Profit, you could use your profit to enhance your process. So I want to use the profit from this year to go buy myself a new truck, buy the company a new truck, right? So shift it, invest the profit into the company. A lot of people do that when they're building a company, guys. Take the profit and put it down into, especially if you're working and you paid yourself as an owner and you got 5% profit at the end of the year, you are paid. Instead of spending them foolishly or whatever, you can put them back into your building and into your company. Here's what they suggest that you guys have. Sometimes it's really hard to get in this market 15 and 20%. So 5 to 10% is not bad. 15 to 20 is perfect. If you can get 15 to 20, so every $100, Derek, if you can get 15% of them to buy a boat, and the rest of them can go somewhere else. Do you guys remember when Paul was saying about the 6% profit at the end and how you double it? So in this market, is tight market, guys. If you get 3 to 10%, you're lucky profit after you paid everything. Okay, so the actual profit, percentage-wise, other final costs, guys, you have to take into consideration a few things. For example, allowances for contingencies, back charges, bonds, penalties, financial costs that pay for the money, gross receipts or not, profit tax, inspector problem, retainage cost. So the final cost, and you can agree or disagree with this, look at these. and say, do I have way at the end? Do I need to do any of these? How am I going to recoup the bond if I want to pay? If I want to buy a bond from an insurance company and I have to pay monthly on this bond, how am I going to recoup this money? You can add them as a final cost. There's a lot of issues, guys, when it comes to major projects. Borrowing money. How about inspector problem? You have an inspector, so the inspector have to come another time. So there's constant contingencies. A lot of people will put 5% contingencies, add 5% just in case something happens. And if you know and like Paul said, guys, if you know that what the general contractor is and you work with them in the past, you put 0. If a general contractor you've never worked with or has a bad reputation of making problems for you, you might have to put the contingencies of 10%, hoping you still get it. Okay, that's your final cost. Bid accuracy. Then, to ensure that your accurate bid, you have to verify that you did not make any mistakes. No mistakes have been done, guys. And there is a couple of things, guys, that you have to make for the bid accuracy. There's a list in page 79. It might be different than the book that you have, Adam. So assuming standard devices, if you guys assume that you're going to have a residential type receptacle, a residential type receptacle is 33 cents, so maybe a buck. This one is $3. Would that make a difference? So assuming the standard devices, that's a mistake. When you assume you're going to have a standard, you're going to have standard receptacle versus big receptacles, more expensive. In a commercial industrial, all spec. MC cable versus AC cable, NM cable, all these you have to take into consideration. So there's a list of things, guys, for guiding major items, for guiding including specific equipment, for guiding including charges to original specification, leaving pages. So anyway, you're going to have, there's a list of things, Adam, when you become a project manager, an estimator, you have to take into consideration wrong extension or totals, wrong scale or reduced blueprint, wrong unit for labor units. There's a whole list that you have to, questions that you guys have to ask to make sure that your bid is accurate. After you do that, first the accuracy. Accuracy is just common mistake, guys. Then you go bid analysis. The difference between accuracy and analysis, bid accuracy, guys, is guarantee that you didn't make common mistakes, right? Bid analysis will make sure that look at the whole overall of your bid, compare it to historic data. So are you within the allocated values, square foot or not? So bid is valid, so you have to compare it, guys, with historic data. For example, if you guys remember when we were at Parsons, they told you that you have to find the percentage of your labor from overall bid price, material, switch gear, major things, guys. Even pipe, they do the EMT conduit, the cable, the fixtures, the percentage, and then they compare them with historic data for a similar project, and based on the values, they can decide if there's a flag that they have to go review the certain part of the project or not. Dollar per square foot, Karen, is a major thing with bid accuracy. The sheet that you guys have with us here, it takes the dollar per square foot, it takes the percentage of the labor, the percentage of the material. At least you need the percentage of the labor, the percentage of the material, and the dollar per square foot. These three things minimum that you need to look at when you analyze your system. Every commercial building that you guys bid, office building is $13 per hour, and when you analyze this bid came up with 26. Don't you think that there's an issue? So Derek, when you think you are doing all your takeoff, remember at the end of the day when you provide it for your supervisor, they're going to look at these and they can easily spot the major things, not the minor things, but the major thing can be easily spotted. And you will be asked about it, at least verify why it's so high, why it's so low, you know what I mean? Just verifying, it's not like a big deal, but you have to verify it. Okay, so there's a few things, guys, that you have to, for example, I have to have a labor percentage, material percentage, direct job percentage, overhead percentage, profit percentage, cost per square foot, how many man hour or people hour, how many days, how many weeks that we have for this project. All these values, guys, the sheet that I gave you, the Excel sheet, does that for you. McCormick also does that, and Accubid does that. So, and they do much more analysis. So important. Bid analysis, guys, is so important. So when we set McCormick Accu bid today, the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to slice the project so we can pull as many information when we do the analysis as we can out of this project. Does that make sense? So bid analysis, I'm not going to emphasize how important this one. So after you analyze the bid, Karen, you looked at all the flags and the risk value. If you guys remember parts where they talk about the risk values and what's not that they allocate, especially labor, Um, when you guys are dealing with labor that you don't directly manage, comes from third party like the union, you have to be very careful to how to manage your labor and what's not. Okay, after all this happened and you analyze it, you're going to go to the bid proposal. The bid proposal, guys, is a sheet that written, signed by the authority having jurisdiction in the company and given to the owner. We have committed ourselves to doing this project for you. It also includes things that you commit yourself to doing. Most of it, Derek, if you guys adjust your residential one, and if you did not adjust your residential one, you got to adjust it, guys. It says what you're supposed to do, right? Power, lighting, and low voltage based on blueprint and specification, and what you're not supposed to do. For example, recycling. If there's any recycling, you probably should say recycling is not included in this. If Adam, you're not responsible for a fire alarm system, you don't want to do fire alarm system, it says fire alarm system shall not be included in this. So you have to list the things that you include, major things. Most of the bids, guys, say pure specification and blueprints. So that's what yours will do. So template for bid proposal. So after that, guys, so this is your basically bid process right here. So after you finish this one, your bid process will include the profit, my friends. You have to have the common mistakes, verify the common mistakes, and then you have to bid accuracy. And when everything is done, you have to sign a piece of paper with the price that you guys are going to do, and that will be your bid process, proposal. Any comments, any questions about the estimating process? With this, Karen, with this chapter, with chapter 5, you guys were done with the bid process. So I'm going to go review with it one more time, guys, review the steps with you. So when we started, if you guys remember when we started, Adam, and we're starting residential, you're going to start commercial. That's why I emphasize it, guys, because we're doing it again for the commercial project. We're doing the same steps. We have understand the scope of work. For the commercial project, Karen, we're going to be doing, in a second, we're going to be doing a power, lighting, and low voltage for a complete 12,000 square foot office building. That's the scope of work. So your proposal, Adam, when you write it for the commercial project, that's what's going to be reflected. Then we're going to do the takeoff. The takeoff from AccuBid guy, from McCormick, I want to give you wheels and counters, and you will be doing takeoff. I would like you also to mark them, guys. I would like you to mark how you draw the conduits. We will be using, Adam, MC cable and EMT conduit. So when you take off, you're going to be using an MC cable, guys. Our MC cable. This is the cable that we're going to do for the commercial project. And EMT conduit, you have EMT conduit here. So for the home runs, Derek, we're going to use home runs. We're going to use EMT conduits for the commercial project. Okay, when you take it. For in between fixtures and devices, we can use MC cable. So when you're taking them off, keep this in mind. MC cable, EMT conduit. If we go underground for the commercial project, Karen, we will be doing for the commercial project PVC. Every time you go underground, what do? PVC. Did you guys hear me? When we go to the commercial project, there are 3 wire methods we're using for the most part. We're using EMT conduit for the home runs and the feeders. Okay, and we're using PVC conduit for anything underground, service and feeders and branch circuit if we have anything on ground, and we're using MC cable between the devices, receptacle to receptacle to receptacle. So as you loop these receptacle, guys, we're going to assume we're going to have a metal studs, and instead of using a wood studs that we did in the commercial project, and we're using Romex, we'll have metal studs and we're pulling an MC cable in between. Did you guys hear me about understanding the scope of work for the commercial project? Very, very important. The industrial will be slightly different. So then we do the takeoff. What's the takeoff for the industrial commercial project, guys? Counting and measuring, exactly the same. Adam and Derek, I would like you guys exactly what you did with the residential project to mark the commercial project. I would not accept any takeoff that's not marked. So when you guys take off the fixtures, you're going to mark it, right? We have a couple of cables to do that. We only have one floor, so it's nice. Determine the bill of material and extending and totaling. These guys are done by the software for you. So you don't have to worry. The minute that you understand the scope of work and you do the takeoff, measure distances, count components, you are done. Did you guys hear me? You are completely done. Because everything else will be taken by the software. Like everything else, Karen and Derek, garbage in, garbage out. When you look at the software, you need to be able to identify the right type that you're taking off. They take off by assembly, guys. The assemblies that we use in a commercial project is going to be looking like something like this. This is the assemblies that we'll be looking for in a commercial project. We're using metallic boxes, metallic devices, mud rings. All these come as a whole assembly. So if you need to take how many switches are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 switches. You will take it as one assembly. It says 5 switches. Pick the 5 switches and take how many of them you want. 1. If you want 1 switch, you have 51 switches. You pick 1 switch in a box with a cover and take them as a 50. Am I making sense about the taking off for the commercial project? Ladies, gentlemen, makes sense? You're going to be working with assemblies. Easier. Okay? So we're going to take, that's a takeoff. Then pricing and laboring, done. You don't have to worry about pricing and laboring. We pick one price, guys, and one labor categories from the software, and then you don't have to worry about it. Just pick the type of the price. Is it NECA 1, 2, or 3, or is it price 1, 2, or 3 based on the location? And that's I'll help you do that. Extending and totaling, forget about it. All done by the software for you. The minute most of the work that's going to be done, guys, in McCormick and Accurate is done in the piece of paper. So please, you are to spend good amount of time doing it on a piece of paper. Estimate summary, not a whole lot, guys. There's a few things in the estimate summary we're going to go adjust. I'm going to help you guys put overhead there, burden, profit, direct cost. These we have to put them in the software. I'll give you numbers for these. Then applying profit. So we have the estimate summary. We're going to apply the profit. And then when you put you have to put the profit. You have to put your labor. I'll tell you how to put your labor in it and all the stuff. After that, gentlemen, bid accuracy, spit, you push the button, and it will spit all the analysis for you. Proposal, at the end of the software, guys, there's a proposal that comes with the software. You pick a proposal from the software. It will put the price, Karen, that you did in Accurate or McCormick into that proposal that the software has, and you print it. So in terms of using the software, guys, I can't emphasize how easy it is to use softwares. But you have to still continue to think of the estimating as 9 process. From understanding the scope of work, takeoff, determine bill of material, pricing and laboring, extending and totaling, estimate summary, applying profit, bid accuracy, and bid proposal. So these are why, this is why this book, guys, that I picked for you is so important, because it's going to apply it to the softwares or doing it by hand, you know. Garbage in, garbage out, please. So guys, spend the most of the time when we go in the commercial project, like I said, it's going to be spent in taking the empty conduits, guys. Taking your empty conduits, like a 3/4 of an inch. We're going to be moving, Karen, with 3/4 of an inch like these, filling them with conductors. We're going to be using 9 circuits, putting them in a conduit like this, and moving them through the building, and powering the whole building from them. Now, certain things from the building. When this is filled, when you need more than 9 circuit, Adam, you pull another one like this, and you keep moving. So we put 9 circuit and 3/4 of an inch, commonly used. 9 circuits, 6 to 9 circuits. 6 to 9 circuits and a conduit like these, in 3/4 of an inch. We don't move too much with 1/2 an inch. You know, you don't want to move too much with 1/2 an inch. So you put these in the ceiling, guys, with a junction box like these. You get your junction boxes right these in the ceiling, and then from here, you take your MC cable. You take your MC cable after you bring the circuit to the junction boxes, right? And then from here, you put your MC cable and you go to your fixtures. Fixture whip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whip them to the box. So your home run coming through an EMT conduit, Karen, and your fixtures will be whipped through an MC cable. Receptacles, the same thing, Adam. You take the receptacle, the commercial project is going to go from one to another to the third using an MC cable, right? Whip them, make sure they're in the same circuit. If they're in different circuit, then you need different type of cable, right? How many hots? Whip them, and at the end, Derek, you're going to take one out of the whole whip here, all the way up to the ceiling, to a junction box like this, and in a conduit, shoot them all the way to the panel. That's how we work. You know, that's the how you wire your home runs. Bring them with conduits. Between devices in a commercial project, we take an MC cable. Now, can I use conduits between devices? Yeah, but it will be cheaper if you have studs, metal studs, Derek. It will be cheaper if you use metal studs, which we have in our project. I'm telling you, it has a metal studs instead of wood studs, is to use an MC cable. Any comments, guys? Any questions? How are we taking the commercial project? And I'm kind of bringing you to the commercial project. So, can you show you how it's going to look like, Anna? So, this is basically, guys, how your system is going to be looking like. If you have a box and you wire these, if you have a receptacle, Derek, and your receptacle is going to be coming from a box like this, a mud ring, and in a commercial project attached to the stud, to the metal studs. Here's your receptacle, Karen. You're going to put your receptacle in here. After you put the shear rock, it'll be shear rocked. You're going to put your receptacle here and your cover. Matt, does it make sense? So when you guys are doing Mikor Accubid, please, you will be looking at something like this. Actually, you will have a cover. I don't have a cover for these. Oh, here you go. It will have a cover. Hopefully, it's the same cover. So what you're looking at when you take a receptacle, Adam, here's how you're going to be taking a receptacle in a commercial building. You're going to take it as a receptacle, a cover, a mud ring, and a box, all in one. Did you guys hear me? How you take receptacles in a commercial project? This is called assembly. That's how you pick them up. So what your job and mine would be, you're going to be asking me, Chad, where can I find this assembly? Always work with the word assembly. That's called an assembly. And then you take the cables from here, you attach this one to it, and you go from one to another, and all the way up to the ceiling. When you reach the ceiling, gentlemen and ladies, you will use another box, any of these boxes. Here's another 11B box. You bring it in here, and you take it all the way to the panel, all the way to the panel. Adam, always move with 3/4 of an inch from the panel into the junction box in the ceiling. What's the conduit that we use? 3/4 of an inch. For branch circuits, receptacles, and lights. Fill them with 9 circuits, 6 to 9 circuits. That's what we're going to move in. 6 to 9 circuits or less, if you want. Every time, a good design, guys, 6 circuits. Every time you hit 6 circuits, pull another 3/4 of an inch, right? So bring these 6 circuits to wherever you want. Spread them through the building. Distribute them to MC cable, and that's how you're going to be laying out your fixtures. Air handling unit now. If you have, we have chillers. We have air handling unit. Now this is for receptacle and lights, right? For receptacle and lights, Adam, you're going to bring a 3/4 of an inch circuits in the ceiling. You're going to MC the receptacles and MC the lights. Am I making sense? Karen, does it make sense? MC the receptacles. So you're going to be looking for an MC cable when you do take off. Now, what happened if you guys have a chiller, a pump, right? You have a pump and a chiller, major equipment. For these guys, what you need to do is you need to go and here's my inch conduit. So for your chiller, you guys know what the size of the conduit for the chiller. Say the chiller was wired with a branch circuit 1 inch. You grab a 1 inch here from the panel, gentlemen, right in here. You take it directly from the panel and you shoot it all the way to where the chiller is located. Right there, you'll have a disconnect. You land it in a disconnect. Did you guys hear me? You land it in a disconnect, and from that disconnect, where did it go? Here. And from that disconnect, right next to the piece of equipment. So here's my disconnect sitting on the wall. From the disconnect, I'm going to go put a flex flexible like this, and take my flex and tie it to the piece of equipment. That's how we take equipment. Any comments, guys? Any questions? So how do we take equipment? You take an EMT conduit, EMT all the way to the piece of equipment that you're doing, typically half an inch or an inch, depending on the size, all the way to the piece of equipment, to a disconnect next to the equipment. Here's my disconnect. You put a flex like this, guys, flexible, fill it with wire, the right wire, and this typically 6'5" to 6 feet, flex and tie it to the piece of equipment. Whip it to the piece of equipment. Am I making sense, guys? How do you take mechanical equipment in the commercial building? So I hope I told you guys how to do receptacles. Take receptacles. You basically, from receptacle to receptacle, MC cable all the way to a junction box, and then EMT all the way to the panel. Lights, Derek, same thing. MC between them to junction box all the way to the panel. Mechanical equipment and feeders, mechanical equipment, you take a conduit all the way to a disconnect and the flexible metallic conduit, tie it to the equipment or liquid tight. And then feeders, the last thing is when you have a feeder, when you have a commercial feeder that's going to a panel, and here's a 2-inch, here's a 2-inch conduit with 4-aught feeder. This is how your feeder is going to look like. All conduit. Here's your 2-inch. You're going to put your 4-aught conductors, 4 conductors, 3-phase, and a ground. If you want a ground, typically ground or no ground because EMT conduit, you put them into this. You take them from one side, guys, to the main panel, from the other side to the other sub panel. And that's how we take our feeders. Any comments, guys? Any questions? Accubid and McCormick. For feeders, there's assembly that's called feeder assembly, and there's assemblies that's called branch circuit assemblies. So if you're looking for a feeder assembly, it tends to be bigger conductors and bigger conduits. This is an assembly of EMT conduit, Adam. If I need an assembly of PVC conduit, guys, if you need an assembly of PVC conduit, no problem. You grab a PVC conduit like this, which the software will have. This is for underground only. Did you guys hear me? If I see you taking off this one overhead, you made a mistake. PVC, you put the same conductors inside it, typically THW though, and you put them underground. Is it your 2-inch? Any comments, guys? Any questions about doing takeoff for the commercial project? Any comments? Any questions? Are you guys ready? Do takeoff. I know it's Monday morning and it's hard to come. So how about if we give you guys 15 minutes, and I would like to give you the keys and at least do the setup today. We'll do the setup. So to do the setup, here's what I would like you guys to do in order to do the setup. Grab your commercial project blueprints, have them handy in front of you, the blueprints. Make sure the blueprints for the commercial project are handy. If you still need to do a few things on a residential project, don't sweat it too hard. Keep it. You can do it. Remember, the final submission of all the 3 of them, guys, at the end of the school year. So if you need to do certain things, Derek, on the residential, don't sweat it too hard. Just put it aside for a second so I can get you in gear with the commercial, and then you can simultaneously work with them, right? Yeah. Okay. So, but I would like in 15 minutes, I would like to start. Just get you kicking in. Yeah. Okay. All right. You need my help?
Yeah.
Can I?
Oh, okay. That's okay. I guess I had a question about the extensions for how to do the math on it.
Oh, extension.
Because I had one plus that times this.
Okay, extension for neighbor is basically extension for neighbor is this times this equals this. That's how the extension for neighbor. Can I do that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is how you did the extension. Oh, divided by this is for each. If it's each, what is that? This is 6 inches. And yeah, that's each. So go ahead and pick up this times this extension. That's it. If it's 100, I don't know if you have 100 here. If you have 100, like these will be per 100. A lot of this stuff here per 100. C, remember the,
Yeah.
yeah, if it's per hundred, then you put C, these typically the conductors are per hundred, so put the C, type the C, then it becomes the following. Equal, this number times this number, divide, oops, no, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, divide, because it's 100, divide by 100, there you go, enter, done. That's what this is.
Alright. Is there a place where I can find like average time for wire pull or anything like that?
Wire pull, what is that? For wires?
Yeah, because this is the labor on it, so I was just figuring how much time it cut. It's like
Yeah, I give you the manual. The manual, what is online? Take me over here. I hope you see, instruction folder is a manual. Commercial, yep, they're all there. Lab, project, residential, very good, labor unit.
Okay.
So if you go here, there you go. So here's the, and improvise, if you don't find the exact one, here's MC cable, for example. Here's give you this is per thousand. Yeah, so go down, here's most of the stuff. If you couldn't find what you want, find something similar,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That will give you kind of an idea. Go all the way down, and you can see how here's the boxes. I think there's NM cable is there too. So there's 25 pages there. So here's your receptacle, here's your, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then later on I'll probably have a question because I just wanted to understand, like if I can just understand, I don't have to work on it today, it's not a big deal, but some of the other pricing labor pages, I just had some small questions. on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you see, here's your conduit,
Yeah.
your labor.
Yeah.
Here's the stuff. Here's some fixtures if you want to go. But let me tell you one other thing, Derek. My intention for the residential project was that is to kind of get your feet wet. Though I like what you're doing. I really love it. I like the way you're gauging it really good. Because it gets involved. If you want to find every component, it gets very involved.
Yeah.
So what I would like you to do, keep working on it, and if you
Why don't
go as deep as you can get into it, but without taking time away from the commercial.
Yeah.
Because this is all built into the software.
Yeah.
You're building a software.
Yeah.
You would never do that in real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would like to, that's why I want to get you simultaneous work on it. If you have time, go update everything else. If you don't, use your
I don't
judgment.
plan on
Yeah.
spending a whole lot of time.
That's what I mean. If you find some
Yeah.
cable that looks like the other cable, use it.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I had.
Yeah.
Like I've been going through it real quick because
Pay attention to E and C and M. These are very important for math.
yeah.
Same thing here, for example, the quantity here. Oh, I'm sorry, I you know what, I actually went back here. This is this is equal, the extension, this is equal to quantity here. Go times, then the labor here and enter. That,
Oh.
yeah, because that would be, that shouldn't be, that's labor, that's not actually, yeah, how do you get away with a dollar? Yeah, get it, not dollar, just general. Yeah, there you go. These are hours. You know what I mean? So I'm going to drag these all the way down because it's the same one. See, you don't have to do it. You do one and you drag it.
Yeah.
Here, so, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's this, and then this guy, let's do it. If you don't mind this. This would be this times. Give me a times. Oh, I'm sorry. Skip.
This is just labor. Yeah, you just gotta.
Yeah.
You
Here,
just
this
gotta
one.
set that.
This one. You're right.
Oh well, no, that's that. That was
You got it.
Yeah, I got
You
that.
got it. Okay. Pay attention to E for each. If there is C, you divide by 1,000. If there is M, you divide by M 1,000 and E you divide by M 1,000, E each, and C is 100. Okay.
All right.